multiple.
That was. I'd like to have a good story, but there's a bear up in the woods somewhere there.
Perfect.
Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
Well, welcome back to this episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast. Today I have the general manager for the Ridgefield Raptors and the general manager for the Cowlitz Black Bears, Mr. Gus, am I going to say your last name wrong? It's Farah, right? Gus?
It's Farah, man. You got
Gus
it right.
Farah. Gus, thank you for making the time to be on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being patient with me and getting. I don't know if it's an honor, but I guess I'm the last one being interviewed for league purposes.
For Washington State purposes. For Washington State purposes.
Well, you waited for the best, or you waited for me to make time for you. But I appreciate that a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, Gus. Why don't you tell us, our listeners, a little bit about your background, because you're the only GM in the league that I know of, at least the only one in Washington that's got. You're wearing multiple hats for two different teams now. So how did that come about?
Well, I mean, I'll give you a little bit background without boring you. So in 95, I started with CBS Radio as a salesperson. 2 years later, I became the general sales manager. And then I went on to move around. We had 5 stations because there was consolidation going on. And I ended up, at one time or another, managing 3 or 4 of them for the revenue side, the sales side, and running sales crews and making sure that the top line looked good, I hope. And spent 17 years there.
And where was that in Portland, by the way?
That was in Portland, CBS Portland. And, I'm not going to bore you with, how consolidation happened. We had one owner before American Radio Systems. But anyway, CBS Radio was really the easiest way to describe it. Okay. And then they sold their Portland properties, and I stayed there for another 4 years, and it was just a culture change. I also went through a family tragedy. I lost my stepson, and, that was just a burden on my family that was overwhelming. And, it required some drastic change for me to be able to keep my family together. My wife, I had a 9-year-old at the time, and myself. So I took a tiny bit of time off trying to regroup. Didn't know what, nothing felt rich at the time. Nothing felt good. And, a friend of mine who we had worked together in the radio business called me and said, "Hey, why don't you come over to the Portland Trail Blazers with me and help me run the sponsorship department?" So I spent 8 years there as a sales manager in the sponsorship department at the Trail Blazers. And, same blocking and tackling. I don't like a lot of cliches, but same blocking and tackling that I had practiced at the radio stations. Relationships, prospecting business, long-term relationships, expanding revenue opportunities. And that went well. And I liked it there. We drafted Damian Lillard the year I got there. We lost 13 in a row to end that year, and we sucked. But things got better, and it's just a nice it's a nice asset to work with and sell. And it was good for my family. I had a 9-10-year-old. And, we got to go I lived by the arena, by the Moda Center, and we got to go to a lot of bull riding and hockey and concerts and things that were good for our family as I was trying to unwind, keep my family together. My family was falling apart by the death of my stepson. So anyway, I spent 8 years there. How I landed here, by happenstance, friend of mine, who we coached a Little League together, and we got to know each other over about 12 years, called me one day and said, "What are you doing this afternoon?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "I got work, but I got time." And he said, "Why don't you go with me to the airport hotel, to the Embassy Suites, and meet this guy who I'm going to meet. I'm thinking about buying into the expansion of, we already owned the Cowlitz Black Bears at the time. but we were going to expand into Ridgefield because Ridgefield had built a field and they were looking for a full-time tenant. And he said, let's just go meet him. He said, it's for me, for him. But I did. And typical, I'm curious, that's my background, that's how you learn about people and things. And I started asking questions, and I was listening to them talk, and they were going to cut a deal. And, they looked at me and said, you wouldn't be interested, would you? And I said, probably not. I said, I don't think you guys can make this work. I don't need to get rich, but I also have certain expectations that my family has as well, financially. And over the next period of 2-3 weeks, we worked it out. And they saw that I could probably launch this. I'd seen all facets of the business, from marketing to promotion to events to sales and revenue. And I came on in July of 18. Very difficult. I mean, people kind of were like, what are you doing? You're leaving the Portland Trail Blazers to go to a college summer wood bat business. And, it was a lifestyle change for me. It gave me, I've always been in charge of my own departments and my own outcome. And so I get that. I get the pressure that comes with that, and I also get the freedom that comes with that, right? So I did it, and we launched forward. I did not take over Cowlitz at the moment. I only took over the launch of Ridgefield. We had a super successful first year for what standards are in the league, and we created this little love affair with this community that's just the fastest growing community in Washington. In Ridgefield, Washington. And, so from there, a year later, we had some turnover, and it was going to happen anyway. I took over Cowlitz as well. Cowlitz is a different beast. It's been there over 10 years, and it's had its ups and it's had its downs. It needed some business discipline. It needed some hardness to it, some discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't have it. So that required turnover of employees a little bit to get the right people in place. And now, 2 years later on that project, it's starting to come around. Community is tighter. Our revenue is looking a lot better, stable, which is really the key for me. Is it stable or is it not? And, so we're moving forward this year with both products, and that's kind of how I landed there. But it's hard, keeping my eye on two things. But I need good people that can take a lot of that responsibility off my back, so that I can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to guide them to do it.
Right. Well, before we go into the two teams, first off, you had to tell Trailblazers story to a Sonics fan who has been devastated, and you just had to open that wound, didn't you? You could tell.
I've always been a Blazer fan. I know the Sonic competition, the rivalry,
mm-hmm.
and I miss it.
Okay.
I became really good friends with Jerome Kersey before he passed away at the Blazers when I was there, and he was right in the middle of that, right?
Yeah.
Him and X were getting at each other all the time.
Oh, I haven't heard. Wow. Okay. Wow.
But we miss it.
Yeah.
We miss that, and hopefully someday that will come back. But it's a different business. It's not the same business. It's not. Why I partly did this is that this gives me a really good. What I think I'm good at is it's community, it's local, it's relationships that I've had for 30 years. That I can still take advantage of in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And, the NBA is a different business. It's about superstars, and, don't touch them, don't talk to them, don't impede on their privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the past, the alumni at the Blazers, whether it's Jerome Kersey or Bobby Gross or Lloyd Neal or, Steve Johnson, those guys are accessible still to me. I can call them
mm-hmm.
and just talk about anything.
Right.
But that's just not the way that the new superstar operates, and that was one of the things that probably, I liked it there a lot. But if you ask me, what were some of the things that bugged me? It was that, you're not welcome at the practice facility. You're not welcome to get to know them when you when you get on the team plane coming home from a road trip, when you took we took our clients, we sat in the back. We couldn't talk to them. We couldn't, don't look at them. It's just different,
My dad worked for Nabisco, and somehow he got on the plane with the Sonics back when Kemp and Peyton were playing, and for a game down in Sacramento. And it's funny that you say that you sat in the back of the plane, can't talk to him, but I've got photos of him with Gary Payton. I've got photos of him with Sean Kemp, and they were talking and they were having a good time. And my dad liked that. And so I was always a little envious, that he got to do that, and I never did. But all right. So you really have changed. You went from, pro sports down to this summer league. Let me ask you this question. We'll go Ridgefield first. So the team launched in 2018, correct?
First season was 19. But we started getting ready in 18.
Okay. Have I asked anybody this question? So how was it to set a team, to spin a team up from nothing? What was that fun and easy, or was it nightmarish, or both?
It was fun.
Okay.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was making it up as we went.
Okay.
And, one of the challenges with all these teams in the West Coast League is that we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough people. We don't have experts in jobs where, at the Blazers, I had 3 or 4 people that were assistants that could make you look good, that could organize you, that could research stuff. Mm-hmm. You're on the fly here. I'm using every gut instinct I have, and they're not all right. Mm-hmm. But I've seen it, I guess. And, so that change can be difficult, and it's a lot of pressure on the rest of the staff, mm-hmm. asking them to do things that they're not trained or experts at. They learn, I think that this is a great training ground, though. I think that for employees that want to move on and either get into entertainment or sports, it's not much different. There's the cliche, the blocking and the tackling is somewhat the same. Mm-hmm. It's just a different level of it. So if you really want to pick up on all that and you want to really grow, I think it's a great opportunity. But the challenge is we just don't have enough resources.
Well, how many people were working full time to bring the team into existence?
We have 2 full-time in Ridgefield, 2 full-time in Cowlitz, and then we staff up. We've added a couple in the spring. We have an internship program. And then we will have about 35 to 40 seasonal employees during the season, that local kids, high school kids, and that we will hire to help run the events.
High school kids, what could go wrong, right? I mean,
it's the challenge nowadays is that they're. I feel like an old man saying this, but they have expectation of what work looks like, mm-hmm. And they also this crazy COVID thing. I'm negotiating how much they want to make because labor is at a shortage, mm-hmm. and everybody's willing to hire somebody for more money.
Right.
And I get it, I do, but I try and have limited resources, sure. Right? But it works out. And it's a great summer job for a lot of kids, especially around Ridgefield and Cowlitz, where they go to high school. They get to have fun. Mm-hmm. It is a game. It is an event. Mm-hmm. It is work. But they get to have fun and make a little money during the summer.
So one of the common threads I've had in this with the other GMs that I've talked to, and this was something that I was not aware of prior to having these conversations, was that each team builds its roster every year based on relationships that they have with area, and even sometimes out of area, college programs. And I was kind of aware of that, but I didn't think about it in the terms. I've gotten a lot more details than I ever had before. How was it with Ridgefield, did you had to hire a coach, and you were probably leveraging that coach's relationships? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Every team kind of does it different. We have a baseball operations person here in Jason Crone, who's been with me since the beginning. And he is a high school college coach that has a lot of relationships as well. Our coach in Ridgefield is Chris Cota. He coaches down at College of the Canyons in Valencia or California. Mm-hmm. And he's been there 20 years. So he does have relationships, but we also, a lot of that gets taken care of here by Jason. Cowlitz had been very stable for a long time with coaching. The last couple of years, we've had some turnover. So we're building that roster a little bit ourselves, just because we haven't had people that have turned over with us the last couple of years. This year, we've hired Alan Embry, who has 882 appearances in the pros, in a World Series ring with the Red Sox when they won their first one. Or their first one in a long time. And yeah. He's a Southwest Washington guy.
Okay.
Went to Prairie High School here in the Vancouver area. So, that's kind of how we build it, but we do take our own destiny into our hands by out of this office, managing that a little bit.
Okay. For the inaugural season, was it, I don't want to use the word easy, but I'm struggling with another word. How challenging was it to build that initial roster?
I don't know that it's challenging. I think the way I gauge it and judge it and all that, I think it's about that the longer you're there, the longer you're here, and the longer you build rosters, the more relationships you build, and you get maybe that little bit better player. Mm-hmm. Off the roster at Santa Barbara or at Long Beach State or at Oregon or Oregon State. And once you start getting that quality up just a little because they know you and they trust you and you take care of their health during the summer and you don't overuse them and, you give them a good bed to sleep in and and they come back and say, I had a great time. They took care of me. I think the quality grows a little bit, which then is the difference maker. So I think at first you are scrapping a little bit with getting what you get. And it grows from there. Ridgefield, is going into its fourth season, but mm-hmm. only 3 seasons because of COVID. Right. We had to bang one. And, we made the playoffs. That was our second full season.
Okay.
We had a hell of a team, and we limped to the finish line because one of the things that happens is a lot of kids go home. Mm-hmm. There's some turnover in the roster during the summer. They get tired. They've been at it since January. They miss their girlfriend. They get hurt. Cowlitz went down to the final week in making a playoff run. So we felt really good about all that. But, roster, that's how rosters are built, and it's really about just getting a little bit better player as you go along and finding new places to find them. Junior colleges are important to the league. Yes, Division I is super important. Division II can be important. Division III can be important. There's kids that can play at all levels of college that were misguided in their recruitment that just had. Baseball's a weird deal, man, in college. It's it is a they judge you, they put you in a level, but there are kids at all levels that can really play. Mm-hmm. So,
well, let me ask you this. I haven't asked this question before. So one of the challenges that all the teams seem to have is, you get a player from Oregon State, and Oregon State asks you to keep this he's a pitcher for the sake of this example. Let's keep his innings down or his pitch count down to X. So this kid's great, and he's 3-0 for the team, and you could really enjoy seeing him hit the mound every 5 nights. But you've got to respect, and you do respect Oregon State's requests, so you shut him down. How do you find kids in the middle of the season? Where are those kids coming from?
That's a great question. So a couple things. You have big rosters. You don't want to overdo them. You want everybody to get playing time. But we definitely have inning limitations on kids that just are done. I mean, we had a kid first year from Grand Canyon, and he was really good. And he got shut down a month into the season.
Wow.
We have, that comes up. So anyway, so what do? We keep looking at a couple other feeder leagues that exist. One is the Cascade Collegiate League. Mm-hmm. It's a lower level than ours, but they've got, again, like I said, kids at all levels can play. Mm-hmm. We also have our own youth academy that has a team up to that level of the Cascade Collegiate League.
Okay.
And, they're good enough to play. They'll play 20 non-league WCL games against not WCL teams. So we're watching those kids, and we're moving them up and down a little bit, because we will try and take care of our own problem through that. Mm-hmm. But you just got to keep your eye open as to kids that didn't for some reason didn't get placed at first, this Cascade Collegiate League, and just have to keep feeding your team. We had a team last year, like I said, in the Cowlitz team could pitch. They were just really outstanding. The Ridgefield team could hit. And if I could put those two together, we would have, really made a big push for the championship. But the challenge was with Ridgefield, as an example, it started eroding the talent because they had to go. Mm-hmm. And we had a different team at the end of the year. We were super potent offensively, the best in the league all year. Mm-hmm. But by the end, we were limping at home. So, that's a real issue, and we just have to use resources that we have at our fingertips to try and feed ourselves. Another
thing that I've learned during these conversations is you don't get your team. These kids don't show up for spring training. They show up maybe in some cases the day of the first game. How does one build a team? So, I mean, how does one build the team, camaraderie and all that, or is that necessary in baseball?
Oh, it is. I mean, we know that, right? We all know that culture matters, but you don't get to. So, even another addition to that is that, I'll use Oregon State as the example since we're stuck on that. They're number 2 in the country. Mm-hmm. And, they could go all the way to a super regional. And if they do, or the World Series. And if they do, then we're not going to see those kids until maybe July 1st or so.
Right.
So that comes into play. How many playoff teams are there? How many kids are not available June 1st when we kick off here? You don't get them all at once, and you got to almost look at it like, am I covered at the beginning? Am I covered in the middle? Am I covered at the end? But here's the thing. We're really caught up, and I understand, and trust me, you're asking really good questions. The fans expect a couple things. It's family affordable entertainment.
Right.
It's not about, do you win a championship every year? Do I want to? Of course. So do you have nice kids that represent the community because they live in this little community? Mm-hmm. Do they do good things, not bad things? Mm-hmm. Do they, so that is kind of what the fans' expectation is. I laugh because, I get competitive, and there are nights I'm sitting there and I'm watching the game and I'm like, I'd rather go home. I can't stand watching this right now. It's tough. But the fans are there. They're there till the end. And it's because they have this little love affair and connection with the community, and they're waiting for these kids, for the team to come back, because they want to get to know them.
Right.
And they're the future good college players, which now they're following every spring, mm-hmm. and they get to see how these kids are doing. And number 2, these are the kids that are going to be drafted someday, potentially.
Right.
Cowlitz had on their summer team in, I think, 13 or 14, Shane Bieber, mm-hmm. Cy Young Award winner from Cleveland. That's just an example.
Right.
So it's more of a legacy kind of feeling than it is am I going to win every game? Now, you can really suck and hurt your ticket sales a little bit, of course. But if you have bad character, mm-hmm. you're going to hurt your ticket sales a lot more than if you lose games.
Okay. With Ridgefield, and we will get to Cowlitz. So one of the coolest things I've ever heard, I got to give Walla Walla props. They throw out the first onion. I just think when I heard that, I just started laughing, and I just think the ceremonial first onion. Does Ridgefield have any things that they're doing to increase fan, interest?
Oh yeah.
So what are you guys doing? What's Ridgefield doing?
It's on the edge of a baseball circus, right?
Mm-hmm.
What now? I'll give you. I'll give you our style.
Okay.
Our style is much like a Walla Walla, much like a Yakima, much like a Bellingham. Well, we're running it down the middle of the road with respect, with not too much. I'm not trying to be funny all the time on our social media and our marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not being dirty.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on the edge of being dirty. Let other teams do that. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
We think we have a community in Southwest Washington that is respectful, that wants that presentation. But what do? Yeah, we have kids get in free Sunday. We have $3 specials on Tuesday. We have special events. We have community partnerships now that are really starting to grab some traction. We have a partnership with a group called Pink Lemonade, and they are a cancer support group for breast cancer.
Okay.
Last year and this year, we partnered with Waste Connections, one of our local, they're the recycling garbage company in the area, and they support Pink Lemonade hugely.
Mm-hmm.
So we had last year and this year a jersey off your back auction. We have special jerseys that are black and pink, gray and pink last year. We will auction those at the game on July 13th, I think it is.
Okay.
And last year we raised $10,500 at that.
Right.
And then the families went home with those jerseys that they went down and took a picture with each kid that they bought the jersey from, or from us, and took a picture, and that's what they got out of it. But they were able to support this community of Pink Lemonade Project. So, there's a lot of that. It's a great group outing event for companies, for little leagues, for churches, that is inexpensive. There's a fundraiser tool to that, where people can sign up their group, bring, if you sold 100 tickets to your community, your you'd make, if you 500, you'd make, or if you sold 100, sorry, let's stick to 100. That's a lot. If you sold 100, you'd make $500 back as a fundraiser. All you have to do is just come to the park and get your group to buy tickets and enjoy the night.
Wow.
So there's hospitality opportunity for groups to eat and to be part of the game with the first pitch, or recognition at the park, and the mascot, which is probably our number one brand. Both parks, Rally the Raptor and Ridgefield, and Corby the Bear and Cowlitz. Hang out with them, take pictures. The kids love it. It's a multi-generational opportunity. You got grandma and grandpa, you got mom and dad, and you got the kids. So there's got to be a little something for everybody. We recognize heroes every night, first responders, and all the fun in between inning games on the field. So yeah, there's a lot going on at the games.
Right. With Ridgefield, how did you guys decide on Raptors as the name?
Well, we had an entry,
okay.
And it very quickly focused on a couple things. One was Sputters, because that's the name of the high school team.
Okay.
And it was an area that grew a lot of potatoes over time.
Okay.
So a lot of sputter innuendo. And then also they have a world-class wildlife refuge. So birds were a big entry, okay, all over the board, and Rally the Raptor, came through. So okay, we had over 500 entries in that ask.
Great. And then with Cowlitz, that was named before you were involved.
That was. I'd like to have a good story, but there's a bear up in the woods somewhere there.
Perfect. What are you excited about for this season with Cowlitz? Let's specifically ask you about Cowlitz. What are you excited about this year? You got any kids on the roster that you're excited about?
I don't. Again, my job is to get the business stabilized and get the production of the game stabilized. I know the players, but I don't really have time, or I leave that up to Jason and to the coaches. What am I excited about? For sure, it's there's some stabilized. You can feel it. There's stabilization of businesses wanting to partner with us, the community wanting to come back to the park. It's taken a long time. It required a handshake. There was just a lack of discipline for a while, and that erodes confidence and relationship. And this is all about a handshake. This is you live with these people. You're in their community. They expect it. So that's really what I'm excited about there. We have a special night there this year. Every other year we bring in a concert after a game. Court Carpenter is coming back. He's a local.
Okay.
He lives in Nashville now. And he comes and does it for us every other year. We missed one because of COVID.
Sure.
But that's a big night. That's our biggest night. We'll pack that house. And I can see by the ticket sales and the sponsorship sales for that night that it's really, really special. So, yeah, it's just the stabilizing of it. And hopefully what we get out of it is we have less stress, that we have a better business now than we did a year ago.
Okay. All right. One of the things I've taken away in these conversations is that all of the teams, at least I'll lump them all the league together, but I've only talked to the Washington State, your peers in Washington State, but everybody so far has seemed to be very collaborative and cooperative amongst teams. Competitive when but for 9 innings, we're very competitive against each other, but we're cooperative and collaborative. So that being said, who are the natural rivalries for Cowlitz and for Ridgefield?
Well, we have a competition called the Columbia River Cup between the two teams.
Okay.
And we play 6 games. We play 3 at home, 3 away against each other. So we add every year. We start the season. The first game on June 1st in Ridgefield this year against Cowlitz. We host it in Ridgefield mostly just because it's a easier park to manage from a game standpoint. Also, we're guest, and our home field is Story Field, Lower Columbia College in Cowlitz, and the NWAC tournament, which is the junior college tournament that's going to start. It butts right up against it. So but we add an extra game, so we have 7.
Okay.
So there's a natural winner every year of the series.
Okay.
And that team, this is the second year. Evergreen Home Loans is our partner. And that's a natural. Somebody's going to win the Columbia River Cup, and the photo op at the end with the team and the excitement of it and the competition of it, right? So that's a natural for us. Okay. I mean, we have Portland down the road, right down the road. We don't really have a well-built-in competition with them that really I would call a rivalry. Okay. I'd like to think Corvallis, they're the 5-time champions back-to-back. They're a very successful team. Good friend of mine runs that team, Dan Siegel, who is a neighbor or is a neighbor. He's going to be an ex-neighbor. And he's just they're the cream of the crop in the league. They knocked us out in the first round last year in the playoffs for Ridgefield. And our fans like that because they know that they're kind of the gold standard.
Right.
But I think our own is really a natural that we try and take care of between Cowlitz and Ridgefield. And then, like I said, there's a splattering. Portland fans get to come up to Ridgefield or to Cowlitz because it's close. And that's the closest geography, right? After that, you have Corvallis and Bend, and then Yakima and Walla Walla. And I know we're talking about Washington and not Oregon, but
it's okay. Well, look, any team called the Pickles, you gotta kind of chuckle.
So anyway, that's kind of the answer there.
Okay. What about Cowlitz this year? What sort of promotions is Cowlitz running? Are you guys going to do a jersey thing like that too, or
no? We're not doing a jersey theme yet. We will. Again, there's some things that need to get in place that I can feel confident that we're ready to do that right. And the first thing is getting a crowd that we need to average more people because that's what drives everything. But we do have a lot of things. Kids get in free Sunday with Peace Health. Wednesdays with Fiber Federal Credit Union, they have a $5 off every ticket.
Wow.
With it. we have fireworks there. We don't have them in Ridgefield because Ridgefield is a complex that has all turf fields and bad wind.
Ooh.
And we learned that the first year that, I had to hire somebody over 30, 40 hours to clean up the firework that flew, I want to say miles, but that's exaggerating. And so fireworks night, the Court Carpenter concert is going to be really huge. So we're looking for these anchors like fireworks and like Court Carpenter that I can really market to drive, the rest of the season. But Cowlitz is a little bit more active with the on-field goofy stuff and fun stuff. They've got more history that way. So, there's a lot of fun there for kids. We run summer camps for both teams. And, last year we probably had about over 100 at each camp. We have 2. Oh. That's important because that's where the kid is saying to the parent, I want to go back to the game.
Right.
We give them tickets to come back, but we want that pull, right? That tug.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's see. One of the things I would love to know is, this is totally random, but you started this conversation about the Blazers. Who's your all-time favorite Portland Trailblazer? Totally catching you off guard here.
No, that's all right. Oh, I don't know. I mean, do I have one? I like Arvydas Sabonis. I wish we would have got him a couple years earlier. We would have had some championships.
Okay.
I love Jerome Kersey. He was a great man. I got to know him.
Right.
There's so many though. Clyde Drexler was a player to watch and fun. Terry Porter was just really a good stud that just wasn't supposed to do what he did. And Damian Lillard's pretty darn special, and he's a good kid.
Okay.
Everybody's a kid nowadays.
I know. Look at us. Look, we're both of us here. Look at me with this big gray beard, and
I just trimmed mine.
You just trimmed, yeah. Oh my gosh. When you're not running 2 baseball teams in your copious free time, what do you like to do?
Love to fish. Steelhead salmon, sturgeon, bottom fish. I love to fish. I don't have a lot of time. I used to golf a lot. I don't have time for both.
So fishing out.
My life came to this halting screech when my boy went to college. He played baseball at a good high level, and we followed that and we loved that. And then all of a sudden he was gone, as any parent knows. And so it was our time. But in the off season, I'm busy. We're really busy, but we're just not as busy as right now, right? So the summer, I don't have a lot of plans, but I sneak out when I can for a day or a half a day to go fishing. Yeah, I love it. We have a lot of opportunity around here, as you know, in the Pacific Northwest. So
give me a good. I'm not a fisherman.
Yeah.
And since this is a Washington State related show, where's a good spot in Washington that you like to go fishing?
Well, the Astoria area, which is really both.
Right.
Oregon and Washington on the Columbia. That's great in August. It's great a couple other times of the year. I don't do a ton in Washington up north. I want to learn it more, but we do a lot between Portland and Astoria and, do a lot of clam digging in Long Beach, Washington. So, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of opportunity here.
Yeah. Now, I saw you earlier drinking coffee, so one of the questions I always ask everybody is, where's a good place to get a cup of coffee? And since you travel so much...
I've got a Starbucks just because it was convenient, and I like it. But I don't know. I better say Cafe Destino in Northeast Portland because my wife is just like in love with those people, little local business. There's some over here, on this side. We have a place in Ridgefield called Lava Java. Lava Java. Black Rock is a pretty solid place, and Dutch Brothers has grown,
That's a company that just, I mean, I know it's Portland or Oregon based, but
Southern Oregon.
They're everywhere.
And and they do a good job. I mean, so I'm not a snob.
No, I'm not either.
I have, after this one, I'll have one more, and it's an instant pack from Starbucks, a Via. They call it Via.
Yep.
It's Pike Place. Okay. And that's what I do when I don't have time to leave my desk today. I got to move. I got to work, and then I got to move. So anyway.
So what's your day look like today for these two teams? Let me put you on the spot. So we're recording this on a Monday, early May. What's your day looking like for baseball today?
Today or just regular?
And regular. I mean,
yeah.
early.
Well, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I usually try and be in the Vancouver office. It's the head office for all of it. I'm working, and let me keep going here for a second. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I try and make it to Longview. They need my help. They need to see me. They need to feel like, I can't give it all the equal amount of love all the time, and they can feel that if I'm here too much in Vancouver, Ridgefield. But during the season, it's cyclical. So we get out of the season, we have to shut down, we have to get the park shut down. We have to communicate with clients about what we did with them so they know that their money was safe. And then once we get out of that, we survey a little bit in September to find out what people think so we can use that to improve. What I learned at the Blazers was you don't need 10 new things every year to really tell a story, but you need one or two.
Okay.
This year, not only are we doing Kids Get In Free Sunday at Ridgefield, we're going to have a Bounce and Battle's going to partner with us. We're going to have 2 or 3 kids area bouncy house sports games. So I look for 1 or 2 things that I can I need hooks that I can talk about. Once we get out of September and we're kind of know what people's feedback was, then we move into planning, what needs to happen for next year and what kind of timeline we need to be on. And then we just follow a timeline of things that need to happen at a certain time. There's a couple elements, though, to this that I should have started from the beginning. What is this about? This is about community, grassroots, affordable family entertainment. We got host families. Haven't brought that up. And that is just, without that, we don't do anything, right? The kids are set up in host families for the summer, and they get a bed, and they get maybe transportation a little bit, and they get food a little bit. Now, they're on the road half the time, but without those host families, we couldn't do this.
Right.
And so that's even a deeper connection that you get when people come to the park, which is a lot of people, 30 or 35 people are there to watch the kid that they have in their house for the summer. They make a relationship. That kid stays in touch. That kid becomes a sanitation worker or a NASA scientist someday. That kid becomes a Major League Baseball player. Those are relationships that are made for life.
No, that's true. And one of the things I haven't talked about with the other teams. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go a little, let's unpack the host family thing. What do you guys require of a host family, basically? I mean, what are you looking for?
I tell them what I just told you, which is, they ask me that all the time. I say, you need to be open-minded to it, because if it's a burden in your house, don't do it. And you need to offer them a bed. Doesn't mean they have to have their own room, their own bed, but they have to have a bed. The refrigerator's got to be available to some degree. We feed them at the park. They're on the road a lot. They eat out a lot, but you need to, make that available.
They eat a lot. Let's just put it that way. They're growing boys.
They may need some transportation, but that's not all on the family. We also have a lot of kids that bring their cars that can help each other. And if you understand the international student, the host family scenario, and it's something that you can do, then great. If it's a burden to have somebody in your house, which I understand if it can be, then don't do it.
So do families take more than one kid, or is it just one?
Yeah, there are some that take 2. There's a couple that take 3, not very many. Right. And then we have one in Cowlitz that has had up to 4 periodically, and Vince and Peggy, and they just been fantastic to us. And she has this really cool jacket. She has 2 of them, I think, that has the patches of the numbers and the names of the kids that she's had. Oh. And there's over 50 now.
Wow. They've hosted over 50 kids?
Very gracious people.
That's crazy.
And they love baseball,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. That's you know what? That's kudos to them. Absolutely. That's
Can't do it without people like that.
well, when Ridgefield launched, was it easy to find host families for
Yep.
this product that wasn't yet real?
Yeah, it was easy. I mean, it wasn't simple, but it was easy.
Okay.
We went out with strong ticket sales. So our season ticket holders probably in the top 5% of the league right away.
Wow.
Host families were pretty pretty full for what we needed. It's just been this little love affair, and I know that sounds cheesy, but that community just loves supporting. It's all of Southwest Washington, by the way. We can't run a business, and I never have tried just in Ridgefield. Ridgefield is our home, and we appreciate that and we honor that. But at the same time, it's from the river. It's from the Columbia River up to Woodland area. It's all of Southwest Washington. 50% of our tickets come from Vancouver. 30% come from Ridgefield. That's just a population base too, right?
Right.
And we're stretching out and branding this thing because we still haven't hit all corners, and not everybody knows about us. We think they do sometimes, but we can't forget that we're still branding this thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. We'll wrap it up with this question. What didn't I ask you that I should have?
Since I was the last one, you kind of knew a lot about. I just want to reinforce that it's not about the wins and losses. It's about the family affordable entertainment. Can we put on a fun show for both markets? Can we be good citizens? There's nothing better than going down to Ridgefield with Steve Stewart, the city manager, and sitting there and talking about how we're running our business and how he gets to take advantage of the amenity that has come to Southwest Washington and have that strong relationship that you can feel. Mm-hmm. I didn't come here I always say this, I didn't come here to go somewhere bigger than the Blazers. This is not a bigger brand name, mm-hmm. And it's also more frustrating at times because I don't have the resources, and it makes things discombobulated and kind of crazy, and it's last second, but I came here because of the grassroots effort. It's a lifestyle issue that I get to kind of run my own show. These guys, the two partners that I have, trust me. I check in with them once a week. I tell them what we're doing. We talk about money, but we never get questioned. I never get questioned on, unless it's an idea. I need feedback. Mm-hmm. Unless it's an idea that's just not a good idea.
Okay, all right. Well, Gus, thank you for. Go ahead.
No. I really appreciate it. I mean, this has been fun, and I do these periodically for different people, and this has been great. And you were so gracious, and I could tell right away, Scott, you were a nice guy, because I wasn't easy to pin down, and I sure don't want to act like I'm important. I just I complicated everything 2-3 weeks ago with this purchase of the house. Yeah, and you have the same name as one of my buddies that I went to grade school and high school with, so it weirds me out when I hear your name.
Okay, well, congratulations on the purchase of a new home, and condolences on the process that you went through and the move, because that's no fun for anybody.
Hopefully we'll see emptiness by this weekend.
Yeah.
Scott, anything you need, let me know. And awesome. I hope you can follow this up with coming to these geographies that you're talking to, and visiting the game. All you got to do is reach out to me. We'll take care of you.
My goal is, so since I'm doing the PA for Wenatchee this year, so my summers, I got to be there for those games.
Oh yeah, you're stuck. But, and then you're gonna realize that you might think you have in between days and you don't have anything, because you're gonna be full and you're gonna be fatigued from it.
But at the same time, with Explore Washington State, we're always traveling the state looking for stuff. So it's like, now it's like, well, I go down to Walla Walla. Let's try to plug in a game. Let's go to Ridgefield. Try to plug in a game. I'm looking forward to it.
I think you'll see Ridgefield there, or Cowlitz. So.
Yeah, I don't have the schedule up in front of me. But
I don't. Again, it's just like when you ask me about the players. I know enough. I know the detail. I just don't.
Right. Well, Gus, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Have a great day.
You too.
Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.